The Mace Energy Method is a series of guided mental exercises that eliminate triggers from trauma or any other upset. It is extremely efficient and it is extremely effective. With the Mace Energy Method, they got to the cause of why that happened. It's just simple directed mental exercises. What was really going on in the cause. And I noticed after the session, the same thing could happen, and I didn't blow up. I didn't just freak out, and it wasn't my first reaction. I had a better response to what was going on, and the transformation was it's just so powerful. As I'm talking about this, I'm just thinking about how I used to be, and it's like, who the hell was that guy? You know, I'm so far removed from that person now, and I don't really talk about my experience. So as I talk about it, it's like, wow. A couple minutes or an hour or a few hours just raging out or just being in such a space where you do so much freaking damage that the rest of the time in between raging out, you're just doing damage control. And then about the time everything seems like it's getting back on track, bam, there it is again, and then the whole thing starts over. That was a very crappy lifestyle. It was very damaging to my kids. We're young. At some point, maybe I'll have them go, yeah, he was an asshole. He was a good guy, but he could just, like that, just instant asshole. Didn't even need alcohol. And so, I was listening to the radio a while ago, and I heard about the Mace Energy Method. But that trigger, everybody knows what a trigger is. It's when something reminds you, you hear something, you see something, smells, whatever, and then all of a sudden you're in that space, right? That just, you act out in a detrimental way against yourself and against, basically you just do damage. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's not like I have to spell it out. This is, all the information about all that, it's already out there. The main thing is shutting down the trigger so you can stop reacting. The actual trigger is shut down. Now it is the single thing that has literally stopped my life from being in the anticipation of chaos by my own lack of self-control, right? Because I had tried to really control myself. During the session, things came up that I really wasn't even aware that was lodged in my head. I don't even know that that's what happened. Like, damn, that happened? Like, yeah, and it happened that fast during the trauma, and it screwed you up, buddy. Like, oh, wow. Because we're still just basically adult babies. So through the Mace Energy Method, I was able to respond, because none of that other trigger stuff got in the way. It's like, that's what I wanted to do in the first place, but I couldn't. Like, it just trigger, bam, act out. When a trauma happens, it changes you. And from that point of trauma, everything changes. And what the Mace Energy Method does is it removes the trigger from the trauma, from the upset. It takes that trigger and it's no longer a trigger. So you can respond where it might not even bother you, or it may still bother you and you still have to decide what you want to do about it, but you're not at effect, and that feeling is not in control. I just really appreciate that this method is available because it really has changed my perspective on life. Shut down the trigger. The interesting thing also about Mace Energy Method is that people that have been to therapy most of their lives, like literally most of their lives, a few decades. This Mace Energy Method, it literally is the most effective therapy that they have ever had because it changes things within you. And it's so simple. The principle and the concept and the application is so simple that the simplicity itself seems hard to believe until you experience it. It's like, you mean to tell me that decades of this thing that I've always been can be shut down within a couple hours? Yes, it actually can. I've experienced it. And that's why I became a Mace Energy Method practitioner, because it actually is effective. Because it works. Quite simply, it works. And I don't know how else to say that. It just works. As evidenced by, I've always wanted to help out. My experiences in my childhood have led me to want to help people get their head straight. It doesn't require any belief in anything. It doesn't require any studying of everything. It doesn't require the going over. Like, we can have a session and I can literally know almost nothing about the person except for their name, and the triggers will be shut down. If you've been to therapy and you've had to talk, if you've been to multiple therapists and had to tell the story again, you're not going to have to do that. That's not what we do. Because that feeling, you think about your whatever it is, and that feeling, that's what we deal with, and that's it. Everything else works. That's all we need is the feeling. And we do that mental exercise, and on the other side, it's hard to imagine being something different than what you have always been. This is my own personal experience. I did not think that that was ever going away. The triggers are not there. They're just not there. And it's such a freaking relief. Your ability within yourself is such an amazing thing through the process, through a session, to witness the change as it happens. People say, well, how can that be where, within the space of a couple hours you go from here to here? It's like, try it. It's a 2-hour session to start. If it goes over a little bit, it's okay. And then a week later, there's a follow-up for about a half an hour, sometimes maybe an hour. And there's other packages that we can talk about too. It's kind of like a 5-week thing I haven't really set a price for that yet. So it's available. There it is. It works. It's worked for me. I'm pretty sure it'll work for you. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you around.